Hello everyone, welcome to this new video of session 8 unit 2 web applications. Okay, class 10. This is your second part of session 8. Your session 8 topic was internet security. In the previous part, in the previous video we have studied about what is the basics of what is the meaning of internet security, what is the purpose of that, what are the different threats in the today's society, what are the different threats in the internet world against which we have to protect, we have to provide the security, and then what are the different preventive methods that we can use for gaining secure for enhancing our internet security. Okay, for providing internet security. So these various preventive methods we have already discussed, like confidentiality and secrecy, and then integrity, then user awareness, then updation of privacy settings, then user authentication, and then use secure password. So these were the different preventive methods which we have already discussed. Now in this topic, in this video we are going to start with a new preventive method which is about access control. Okay, how we can use how we can use access control as a preventive method for ensuring internet security. This we will see in this video, and some other topics also we will study. First of all, we will discuss what is access control. So what is access control? This restricts the different classes of users to subsets of information and ensures that they can only access data and services for which they have been authorized. So what does it mean? That we are, first of all, we are creating different classes of users. We are partitioning, we are separating users into different classes. Okay, we are making different classes, different categories of users, and every such category or class of users will be able to access only a particular subset of the information, not the whole information. Okay, a particular class of user will be able to access only a particular set of information. Okay, and it ensures that they can only access data and services for which they have been authorized. Okay, only for those data and services for which they have been authorized, they will be able to access only that particular data or services. They will not be able to access all information at a go. Okay, they will not be able to access all information which is available on the internet. Okay, so we have partitioned different users into different classes, and depending on the class of the user will be able to access only a particular subset or a particular portion of the information which is available. Okay, so what are the different measures which include using network restrictions to prevent access to other computer systems and networks. So we can apply some restrictions on the network level. We can apply some network settings. What they will do, these network settings will restrict the users to access other computer systems and networks. Okay, so we can also create some, we can also apply some network settings using which the users will be restricted from accessing other computer systems and networks. Only those computer systems and networks which we want our users to access, only those computer systems and networks they will be able to access. Okay, at the network level, at the level of our network, we can also apply some settings and restrictions which are the network restrictions. They will prevent our users from accessing some particular computer systems and networks which are unwanted and which are harmful for them. Okay, then second one is, at the application level also we can apply the access control. How we can do? We can apply various application controls to ensure how individuals are limited to the data or service they can access. So using this application controls, what will happen? We can ensure that individuals are limited to the data or service they can access. So at the application level, previously what we were doing, we were imposing the restrictions at the network level. Okay, network level means at a wider level. And what we can do, we can also apply these restrictions at any particular application level also. Okay, like for example, at one application level which is a browser also, we can apply these controls, we can apply these restrictions, so that it will be ensured that the individuals will not be able to access the data or service or any website which we want to access. So we can also limit the particular website which a person is accessing by applying restrictions on the network as well as the browser also. Okay, now thirdly, restrictions on what can be copied from the system and stored on pen drives, memory sticks, or CDs or DVDs. So this also we can restrict. We can also restrict the file transfer from our computer from the system. Okay, we can also restrict any user from copying any data, any file which has been stored on a pen drive, memory stick, or CD or DVD. Okay, all those pieces of information we can restrict the system, we can restrict the user from copying from the system. So when you apply this restriction, then what will happen? The user will not be able to copy any such information or files from the system, and they cannot be copied from system and stored on any pen drives, memory sticks, or CDs or DVDs unless and until we permit the user to do so. Okay, then fourthly, we can impose a limit on the sending and receiving of certain types of email attachments. Okay, we can also impose certain limitations on the sending and receiving of certain types of email attachments. Okay, certain specific types of email attachments we can restrict a user from sending as well as receiving. Like for example, most of the Gmail is always restricting the transfer of the sending and receiving of file attachments which are .exe files. Okay, if you ever try to attach a .exe file to your Gmail account, to your Gmail email, then what will happen? The Gmail will always give you an error. The Gmail will always say that these types of files are not harmful for you. Okay, it will always give you a warning. Okay, you will not be able to attach it very easily into your Gmail email, to your email file. Okay, as an attachment. So why it is so? Because Gmail is imposing a restriction on the type of file which can be attached by you to any email which is sent over it. Okay, similarly, you can also apply any limit to the sending and receiving of certain specific types of email attachments. Okay, types of email attachment means what? Types of file which will be sent as an attachment. Okay, this is also one type of internet security. So why Gmail is restricting the .exe files? Because .exe files are the executable files, and almost all viruses are .exe files only. Viruses are executable files, and they are executed as soon as they reach the system on which they have been sent. Okay, that is why exe files also are a very big threat to the internet security. And sometimes, or not all, it doesn't mean that all exe files are viruses, but sometimes what happens by using exe files, hackers are also using exe files to send their viruses, and sometimes any of the exe file which we receive as an email attachment, it could be also infected with a virus also. Okay, sometimes hackers may also create exe files viruses, and they may also send it through the email attachments to somebody. That is why Gmail Gmail is following this restriction policy, that it will restrict the sending of .exe files as email attachments. Okay, similarly, other applications are also having certain restrictions on the types of email attachments. Okay, now second one is, I hope this access control is clear to all of you now. Now, protect your identity. How you can protect your identity? Why we need to protect our identity? Because identity theft is a very common type of threat which is prevalent in today's society. Okay, sometimes we or our parents receive messages from our bank, credit card department, or any institution where we are concerned with many money transactions, that beware of fake SMS emails. Don't share our date of birth, CVV pin, or OTP number, card number, expiry date, and all. So all these, sometimes we get a phone call, or we can receive messages from the bank that they will ask for these types of information. Okay, for that, like for example, they may ask for the CVV number, they may ask for the PIN number, they may ask for the OTP number. So all these are the fraud calls. They are the calls which are made by fraudsters and people who are trying to steal your sensitive information. Okay, these are all concerns of identity thefts. Even if somebody calls you, or or sends you a message that which tells that you have received you have some reward you have got some reward points for gift voucher, and you have to provide this information for redeeming your gift. All these are types of fake calls. All these are types of fraud. All these are types of cyber fraud which are used by people for gaining your valuable information about your bank and your credit card and debit card details, and then they will use all these details to fool you and withdraw money from your account. Okay, so we have to protect ourselves against all these types of identity thefts. Okay, now to protect against such identity theft, what we can do? So first of all, we should never share our password or account number over an email or instant message. We should never share our password or account numbers. Secondly, do not follow links from emails when conducting financial transactions. Instead, enter the URL yourself. Okay, so you should never follow any link from emails while you're conducting the financial transaction. You should never click on the link. Instead, you should enter the URL yourself. You should type the URL ourselves always. Why? Because sometimes these links are befooling also. Sometimes these links are created for making a fool of us, and what they will do, they will, when you click on these links, then they will redirect to some fraud site where they will ask for the information, they will steal our information from us, then they will use that information for fooling us and withdrawing money from our accounts also. That is why we should not follow the links from emails. We should not click on the links on we should never click on the links from the emails while doing when conducting financial transactions, but we should type the URL, enter the URL ourselves always. Okay, then we should always be wary of callers, pop-ups, websites, or emails asking for the personal information. Never give your personal information over the website or over any email to any person or any callers or any. And we should always be very cautious about all these callers and pop-ups and website which ask for personal information. Then we have to look for HTTPS or a picture of a log before purchasing from a website or giving out information on that website. See, HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. So HTTPS is a type of Hypertext Transfer Protocol which is a secure version. It is a secure version of the HTTP protocol. So whenever we are doing any transaction on a website, first of all we should check for this HTTPS symbol in the address bar or a picture of a log before the website address. Okay, if the HTTPS is there or the website log is or a log picture of a log is there before the website address in the address bar, then it means that that website is secure. Okay, so that website is secure for financial transactions. Otherwise, we should never initiate a transaction if this HTTPS or the log picture is not being displayed on the website in the address bar before the website in the address bar. Okay, then create secure passwords and change them often. You should always create secure passwords which are secure passwords, which means that which are not easily hackable, which are not easily guessable by any person. Nobody should be able to hack or guess your password, and you should also keep on changing your password very often. Then never download software from a source we do not trust or open emails or images from unfamiliar senders. Okay, then install firewall, anti-spyware and antivirus softwares and update it often or periodically. Either update it often, or you can, if you can't update it very often, then you can at least update that periodically also. Okay, then file a report with law enforcement and notify creditors if there is any incident or a suspicion of identity theft. If you suspect that there is some identity theft, somebody has stolen your information, then you should immediately file a report with the law enforcement and notify the creditors. Notify the creditors means what? You should notify your bank authorities. Okay, or you should also lodge a FIR with the police also. Okay, you should always inform them. Otherwise, if you delay in doing this, then people will be using people will be misusing your sensitive information which they have stolen. They will make it to withdraw money from your account, and they will gain money from your account without your permission and without your consent. This will be a very big damage to your property also. That is why we should always inform people, always lodge an FIR. We should always file a report with the police authorities, as well as we should inform the bank whenever there is a identity theft. Okay, then the next is protect your computer from virus. Okay, virus protection is very common type of preventive method which everybody is taking these days. So what is there? Virus protection is a primary safety measure that everybody should adopt. A computer virus is a computer program which attaches to programs or documents and then copies itself into more programs or documents. So virus is a what? A computer virus is very different from a biological virus. Okay, a computer virus is a computer program, okay, which attaches to other programs or documents. What it does, first of all, it will attach itself to any other program or document, and then what it will do, it will copy itself into more programs or documents. Okay, and then in this way it will spread itself through all the files of your hard disk. Okay, it will spread throughout the hard disk in this way. Okay, so how we can protect against a computer, protect our computer from antivirus by following these steps. Okay, these measures. First of all, use a firewall. Okay, if you are using Windows 7, make sure that the Windows firewall is turned on. So Windows firewall is present in almost all the Windows operating systems. Okay, what we have to do, we have to keep it on always. We have to ensure that our firewall is always turned on, it is activated. Okay, then keep your software up to date. Don't keep your software outdated. Okay, keep on updating your software from time to time. Okay, because what happens when you update a software, then the company which is providing the software, it is also updating the security measures in the software. Okay, in Windows, make sure automatic updating is turned on. Even your Windows operating system should always be updated, because what happens along with the Windows updates, many security patches are also being installed. Okay, security patches means what? The Windows, the Microsoft itself is preparing its operating system to be secure against. It's making it more and more secure against new threats coming every day. Okay, so what is there in the security patches? These security patches are like security measures. They are the security measures. They are the enhancements in the security of the OS against new threats which are coming every day. Okay, that is why what we should do, we should always update our Windows operating system or any other operating system which you are using, as well as we should always keep on updating all our application software also from time to time. Okay, then last is we should install an antivirus program. Installing an antivirus program and keeping it up to date can help us protect our computer against viruses. Okay, so these are the various steps which we can take for protecting our computer from virus. So we will end this video here only. In the next part, in the part 3 of our video session of our 8th session, what we will do, we'll start with this with the new preventive measures, which are block cookies and encryption. So till the next video is uploaded, I hope you have understood this video. Till the next video is uploaded, thank you and goodbye.